Welcome to the Sci-Fi Guys. I am your host, Dave, and with me, as always, is John and Chad. Today, we are going to be talking about the science fiction movie Chappie. What'd you guys think? Was this the first time anyone's seen Chappie? This was not my first time. I've seen it once, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, for
Same
once
here.
it was a second watch through, but same. It had been a while.
Yeah, and well, with Chappie, there are many characters. Just to have a few of them there. I just kind of threw them up there just so people can say, "Oh yeah, I remember that movie." So,
Mommy?
yeah, Mummy. This was definitely what's the word I'm looking for? This was definitely not a family friendly movie. Let's just say that.
No,
So
not by
it
any
was.
means.
There was quite a bit of language in there. So just want to throw that out there for everybody, just to make sure in case you guys are like, "Hey, we need to go watch this movie." It was. I think it was rated R.
Mhm.
If I'm not mistaken.
It would have had to have been.
Yeah. So, okay. So we are going to go ahead and start with our first segment. Yeah, questions. John has our questions this week. So, John, you can start things off.
That's it. Well, with a nice robotic police force and thinking through that as kind of the main setup of the film, the first question I have for you guys is: do you think we'll ever achieve a robotic police force? Like, is there going to be a time when decisions are made? I mean, technically, I guess it is AI, but at least made by software as opposed to an actual person. Or do you think even if we do end up with robots, is there still going to be a person attached?
I don't know. I think we watched RoboCop. We've seen where a human slash machine integrated and where that went. But also, you see this movie where you have a hard key that you can reprogram these Chappie units to do whatever they want if somebody got a hands on it. Which the good guy really did get a hand on it. Thought it would be fully programmed AI on it. So I can see half and half. Maybe have a robot like a robotic drone that kind of monitor the speed and down the interstates, but not enforcing the law.
Well, I am. What's the word I'm looking for? I disagree with you, Chad. I think that at some point we will get to this for sure. Just for example, all right. So, like in the military right now, what do? They're trying to take the pilot out of aircraft. They haven't completely yet, but they are. Aircrafts are now what they call UA. They used to be called UAVs. Now they're called UASs. Um, Unmanned aerial vehicle. Yeah,
Surveillance.
surveillance,
Surveillance.
whatever it stands for now. And so they are sitting back and basically with joysticks and controlling it. We're eventually going to get to a point where these things are going to be. I don't want to say self-aware, but I could see how, especially in this movie, how they could make it okay. You program a robot to do this, and this. They're looking for this. If anyone, doesn't do what they're told to do, then it's programmed to do such and such, or whatever. So I could see it getting to a point eventually. I kind of think when we watched Judge Dredd, I could have seen that aspect having automated robots doing that kind of work rather than human beings, just because it was so lawless and so there was so much idiocracy out there. So and it's possible, it just depends on the way that the world is getting, how they're going to, how will they react to it? How will they react to AI? How will they react to, just the law enforcement in general. So
Yeah. And yeah, my problem is no matter what, even if we go automatic, I still feel like there's going to be a we've talked about this before. The human element of a human had to program it at some point. There's still going to be some mistakes built in, but I definitely think on the quote unquote fairness side of it all, I definitely think the robotic side's where we'll end up. Just because if you have a law and you just program it to like counteract that law, it's just going to go by what the law is, and at that point, I think you end up with something that is a little more. I'm going to call it fair, not necessarily just, because sometimes to be just means sometimes you're a little more unfair. So to have both is a little different. I mean that in terms of like, well, if you have somebody who's struggling really hard, sometimes you give them a break because they're just going through life. But if you have this kind of robotic idea, it's just completely fair. It's not necessarily as just or at least merciful. And so I definitely see where we end up on that side of it, just because it takes out that equation of a lot of the issues that are seen out in the world in general. So I definitely think it could help with that. But I think we end up with some form of robotic, but I still think there's going to be at least some form of human supervision. Maybe they just start live streaming the robot. I think that could be fun.
Well, I mean,
Give us live
think,
PD robot edition.
well, think about it this way: if you could send a robot into a hostage situation, into a whatever, and you can control it remote controlly, you're not putting that officer's life in danger. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what the military is figured out. That's why they're doing the unmanned vehicles, because if you shoot one down, okay, it's millions of dollars, but the life hasn't been lost. So, and I could see law enforcement going that way where they're controlling it. I mean, if it's a standalone, then again, you brought up some good points on that earlier about, okay, well, what if the guy's just down on his luck, and if you got a robot that's like, okay, here's the law, it goes back to um to dread,
Dread.
I am the law, and you broke the law, and you will go to jail for the law. I was just trying to hide so I wouldn't get shot.
Well,
So
then again, that's why we have courts. So if you let the robots do all the lawfulness, then I guess you let the courts handle the other side on the back end. So I could see it working out either way. Now, in regards to, let's assume we do end up robotic, and I know we've talked about this some on the human versus non-human side, so I want to swap up the question I originally asked since we've already discussed part of that. Do you think we end up with these big tanks of robots, or do you think we end up with the smaller, more nimble robots? Do you think we end up with the force of both? What do you guys think?
I think you're going to get a force of both. I think you're going to. I mean, it's just like with anything. Again, I'm going to use military for example. You know, uh, each aircraft has a specific role. One of them is a bomber, and that's what it's designed to fly over, drop bombs. One of them is an air superiority fighter. One of them is a close air support aircraft to help the troops down on the ground. You have different helicopters that have different missions and all that. So I think the police force would be very much the same way. I mean, think about it. If you have your regular law enforcement, you have your inspectors are the ones or detectives are the ones that actually dig deep in to say, okay, what happened here, what happened there, and then you've got SWAT. Not every place has SWAT, but there are places that have SWAT, which is special weapons and tactics. So I could see, you know, I don't see them making one robot and that'll just take care of everything. I really do. I think it would be okay. There's a role for this. There's a role for that. There's a role for this. So you're going to get multiple things. Now you may get interchangeable parts if they were smart, to save some money. Okay, hey, this computer brain will work the same in this one as the same as that one, or this actuator is the same in each one of them. But actual missions, I think, should be different. Chad, what do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, you have anything different, or
No, I think I was going on with that question. You get a little mixture of both. I wouldn't just put all Chappie sized robots in situations because it might not, the situation might call for a little bigger and better robot.
yeah,
But
that was one of the. I mean, I know we haven't mentioned plot holes, but the city is in chaos, and yet you're gonna send out this other robot only when you see Chappie stealing stuff. you know
Mhm.
The place is in chaos. This is the perfect opportunity to use your new other toy. Let it sit. Send it out there and let him use it to see what happens. To me, that was like, why didn't you do that? But no, let's
Red
just hold
tape,
on to
Dave.
it.
Red tape. Oh goodness. I mean, yeah, I think I'm in total agreement. I mean, come on, like even going on the Marvel side, even Iron Man has different suits for different purposes. I mean, that's just at the end of the day. If you have a specific job you're trying to do, you're going to cater a robot to that. And I think at the end of the day, that's just how it has to be. So
Use the right tool for the right job. That's the way.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Although, if you're brave enough, anything's a nail and everything's a hammer. So, all right. But regardless of that, and regardless of where we end up on the police side of things with that, uh, one of the things that happens at the end of the film, I definitely find very interesting. And that's this. There's first this idea of an AI, a self-aware AI. So basically, a created intelligence importing itself into another body. And so I definitely see that one as somewhat feasible, especially if it's a self-aware AI. I mean, at that point, you're just moving, ones and zeros into a different chip. But do you think we would ever get to a point, and we've discussed this at certain points before, where we upload a human conscious to some form of robotic body, like where it's the same human, basically, just in a different format?
Chad, you want to start or you want me to?
You go, because
I was like, he's like, I'm hiding from the camera. I don't want to answer this.
no, I just got didn't want to. I was about to sneeze. I'm like, nope.
Okay. So a brain is basically a computer. Things in your brain, I'm sure, could be converted to ones and zeros. Um, if you look at colors, for example, the color scheme of things um, are broke down. Like, you'll see right next to my name, there's a blue stripe there. Okay, well, if you actually go to an ASCII color, it's 004FFF. All right, so you could actually take that color as you see it in your brain and then turn it into a digital code. And no, I'm not going to tell you all the ones and zeros for all that because I don't know them off the top of my head. Plus, you guys would be like, okay, that's enough. But I really think you could take a human consciousness and put it into a computer. However, that person will cease to exist. I think you will have the information there as basically like an external hard drive where you could access it, but that's about it. I don't think that person, you could actually take their subconscious, their what makes them human, and put it into something else, and that becomes them.
Hey,
Chad,
that's
you
definitely
got
a fair
anything?
shot.
I'm trying to think now. There was a cartoon show that put a human brain into a computer, but it wasn't the face; it was just the brain itself. But I'm probably
Oh,
thinking. So, but I can see it happening. All the brain is just these electrical signals, so they can tap into that side and figure out what the nervous system does. Yeah, I can see them doing it, but well, then you'd be living now as a machine instead of a human. So you get the best of both worlds right there.
fair enough. I mean, and two, Dave, I mean, I think you're onto a point there where, like, oh, okay, you could access the information without necessarily still having the person. I think that's probably the most accurate iteration of this will get. So maybe like libraries of people's brains that you could go back and access information, especially as any technology starts with more infamous people, more brainiacs, and the people that think through stuff. I think being able to access their brains through a file and be like, all right, let's play back this memory of what they thought on this, and actually getting into it. But I don't think we're going to end up with a direct one to one. Hey, this is that person, just in a different body. I don't think that can. It just doesn't work out.
Yeah. Actually, if you guys ever get a chance to read Ready Player 2, it was the sequel to Ready Player 1, but they haven't made it into a movie. But that's basically was the next generation of what they did for the Oasis, is that they had a different headgear that people would wear, and it would actually, you would be able to relive other people's, what they felt, what they saw as it, either live as it happened, or it would be a recording of it, and then you would be able to live their experiences, so you could live vicariously through somebody else. So it is kind of, it's interesting, but at the same time is, would you want to be able to open your life up to every single thing that you've ever thought about? To me, that's just kind of, I don't know. I'm not saying I have bad thoughts about anybody or anything, but at the same time, I mean, just think about it. I mean, if you're having a bad day and you just thought your boss was a total jerk or whatever, and your boss was like, well, let's see what Dave thought about me for today, and then gets on there and like, oh really, he thinks that's what, you know what I'm saying. It could be used so negatively. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if we're going to ever get to that point. We could, it could be the next evolution of, hey, this is how we're going to interact. We're not going to use cell phones anymore. We're going to use this. I don't know. It's something to think about.
And two, then, I mean, I think it might. There was I think a Doctor Who episode similar to this where you had to like willingly get in a chair and upload your memories, and then it like took you hostage. I think this could be like a black market situation. Like, oh, I'm desperate for money. I'm gonna go sell my brain. Like, I think you might end up more on that side because there's a lot of ethics into doing any of that, regardless. But I digress on that point, and that leads us to our final question. And that is kind of the overall idea behind the question is, if AI fell into a bad babysitter's hands, like Chappie did, is it more likely that it would be evil if it just fell into someone's hands, or would it be more likely that someone evil just takes the technology? I guess the saying I'm going for, because Chappie, he just kind of fell into some criminals' hands, and then they kind of raised him, quote unquote, to be that way. But is it more likely?
But they wanted to find a way to shut down all the robots, and so they were searching for a way, and it just happened to be his particular one just fell into their lap. I think if it's somebody evil is out there, they're going to be searching for it, and they're going to try to find a way to, to skirt the system, to fix whatever, or if there's a way they could reprogram it or a way to break it, they're going to figure it out.
Absolutely. Fair enough.
So.
Chad?
Yeah, I'm about the same.
It means, well, that's all I had in terms of questions, guys.
All right. Well, let's go to... This is my favorite part of it, plot holes. We had a ton of them. Oh, I went to the wrong screen. Oh, wow. I'm on a different computer now. Definitely got some different stuff here that I'm not used to. So, did you guys see any blatant plot holes that you guys want to talk about? Because I found like 20 of them, but I'm not going to talk about all of them because we'd be here all night,
Well, like I discussed before, I'm not the best at plot holes, but I think the biggest gaping plot hole is the fact that this guy creates self-aware AI and he doesn't just go and start his own company. Like, why is he so worried about taking that into, back to his business? Like, no, man. In what world do you create that and then go, no, I'm just going to keep on to this, or I'm going to go and take it to my company? Like, why would you not try to do that on your own, market it on your own? I know he needed the Chappie body. I got that. But he also created those. Surely he could come up with some other design.
But why did he need the Chappie body? Think about that way. That, to me, that's one of my major plot holes is, okay, why didn't you test this on a laptop or something and be able to talk to it or whatever? And the Chappie, the different robots, they all speak English.
Yeah.
You hear them talking, yet Chappie doesn't speak English. He's fearful, but he doesn't speak anything. So I'm like, okay, really? This makes no sense. I mean, it was just I think a version so they could go ahead and mix cuss words up on purpose, But to me, I was like, really,
Yeah, but he creates it, but he has like a C-3PO robot in his house. Why didn't he just put it in that one first?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not something that has, basically is a bulletproof, killing machine. I mean, has no one thought of Skynet? Hello, the Terminator. They already mentioned it, from the future because the machines took over. I don't know. There was just so many things. Chad, did anything really kind of jump out at your mind before I jump into throwing a bunch of other ones?
Okay,
Well,
so
while you're thinking, okay. So we have this guard chip. There's one
that's
guard
where I was
chip.
going. That's where I was going.
Okay, so go ahead. You say what you want to then, and maybe I can
Because
follow up.
yeah, you got one Garcha. Why not have a two or three of them? That way, you at least have many of those. You not have one down. You can have one in each thing and program about two or three of them if they need to. Not one
That does
As-
everything.
that does everything. Why?
But
Why?
and to follow up with that is okay. You have one that was checked out for multiple days, and no one said a thing. Nobody said. I mean, oh, you checked it out 3 days ago, or where is it? Well, I'm still working with it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that thing can control all the entire police force, and it's not under lock and key. And then how about those big honking guns that are there that he was able to get to at the end? I'm like, really? Come on, people. I mean, I'm sorry, that kind of stuff would be way under lock and key.
Oh, yeah.
And my biggest one that bugs me is, all right, if you're an engineer, you're going to have access to your stuff on your screen. As an engineer, these guys had access to everything. So how could golly, I can't think of his name.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. I was getting ready to say Wolverine. So Hugh Jackman should not have had access to any of the Chappie programs,
No.
because
No.
he was running a totally different thing, and he shouldn't have even had access to the chip because the chip had nothing to do with this program. So,
But I think he wanted to put Chappie program into his robot. Not that's the thing. He wanted to piggyback off that guy, but instead of just saying, "Hey, I want to do your Chappie program into this one, let's see how it does." No, he didn't want to do it. He blatantly was. He's I don't know. He was Hugh Jackman played in the gray line area so much, and he fell on the bad side at the end.
yeah. Well, they really pushed and tried to make him the bad guy, the villain, and really wasn't a great villain. He just kind of was, I don't know,
Mm.
the top. I mean, how would you feel if somebody came and put a gun up to you? Oh, it's empty. Oh, look, I'm just joking. I mean, I'm sorry, HR would have been called right away. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, he would have been removed. But everyone's like, oh, it's okay. It's just because he's him. And I guess the biggest plot hole I had, I guess, for the whole movie was at the very end. Why, oh why, if the scout contract was canceled, is the manufacturing plant still up and running with power to all the machines and able to get remote access to build a new body for his mommy? I'm
Mommy.
exactly. I mean, I'm like, no, that's not right.
So what
So
I'm hearing, Dave, all of our plot holes mostly come down to, for the people that run security, they were horrible internal security.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, here's this.
Their security, what lack of thereof.
Yeah.
It sucked. It stunk.
They didn't back up nothing. They didn't have a backup master key. Or, hey, let's do this. You're going to have to check out that key with not just one person, but two people. Why not
Well,
have
yeah.
a backup?
And,
Hey,
and I'm sorry, if you had the master key, to me, you would
that would have
not
been
want
in house.
something
You're not
that
taking
should
it
only,
outside.
and maybe it should only have a range of, okay, hey, you have to be in the building for the master key to work on
Yeah.
your robot, because what happens, just like in the movie, they're out in a tense situation, then the robot just shuts down. I mean, no, it should be able to at least complete its last mission, its last, command. Then maybe, hey, it needs to go back and it'll check out what it needs to do or whatever. Again, so many. I mean, I told you I counted like 22 or 23, and then again, I'm not going through all of them
Well,
because we'll be here all night. But yeah. All right, so
see,
go ahead, Chad. You want something?
yeah, there's another one. I mean, he puts it in there, and then, all right, I got to come back and do it and do it. Like, so you talking about AI being self-aware? He said, look, promise you won't do bad things. And all through the movie, he kept, I won't do bad things, I won't do bad things, but then gets Trixon to go rob a.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, you need a new body. Oh, we need this, or you need this, or you need,
Yeah.
I mean, for the intelligence, how they're making it. I don't know. Again, to me, it was all for convenience of, hey, we want to make this movie and we want to be able to use this and do this. So let's just kind of write it the easiest way we could,
Because it
So
wasn't Chappie following after District 9.
I think it was done by the same director or same writers or something. So, but it's basically the same company, I think, that did it. It was shortly after District 9. So I think they were kind of going on the coattails of District 9. You're right.
Yeah.
So for those of you out there that are watching, we have not watched District 9 yet. But that is on our plan. We haven't got to that part yet. So next segment. Fixing and improving. How would you fix this movie, or how would you improve this movie? So, John. Oh, he's raising his hand. John definitely wants to say some stuff. So, John, please. And let's go full screen with John. Go right ahead, John.
Oh, and I have to look at myself. I think the biggest fix overall for me is, I know we talked part of the Chappie falling into the hands of and just being perfect for the criminal guys, but I almost would have done the more hero turned villain in terms of Chappie's creator side story. So maybe he sells it to the criminals, or maybe even have Hugh Jackman's character somehow hack access into the Chappie files and somehow sell one of the robots that does something like this to the criminals. Just something other than just he kind of falls into the hands and then now we're going to use him. Especially the self-aware one. I feel like it needed a lot more intent behind the story being, the self-aware robot ends up in the hands of these guys. I think that should have been a much more intentional move as opposed to what appeared to be more on the accidental side, even though they were seeking that out somewhat. I don't think it was careful enough in that way. That's my biggest fix.
Okay, Chad, how about you?
I agree with John. I mean, the story. I did a stuff for a robot, and I lost it. Oops. I would have done it where, like what John said, either Hugh Jackman character sells the program to someone, or steals a Chappie that's broke, and hey, here's this. Here's a robot that's broke. Here's how you get into it. Find some kind of where the evil character is doing something, not or it just falls into bad hands. That's totally, and that's about it. I don't, because there's a lot of stuff wrong with it. The only way to fix is doing something different.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with both of you guys. I think for me, how can I say this? I really think it was weak writing.
Mhm.
That they made the movie too, as you guys both said, convenient. Everything was very convenient. Um, and I had trouble, especially when we're making a, for those of you out there that are watching, we're making a master list of who's the villains for each of the movies, who the side characters are, and who the main characters are, and we're going to eventually do at the end of the year a top 5 and maybe a bottom 5 of each one of these categories. And so to me, it was the hardest part is, okay, who do I put as the villain for this movie? Is it Hugh Jackman? Is it what's his
Father,
name?
baby daddy, or
Yeah, well, I can't think of his name. Ninja, I think it was
ninja? Yeah, ninja.
Ninja. So who was the villain? I mean, I put Hugh Jackman on there because I think he ultimately was the villain in this case, the downfall of this. But it was just so confusing. I mean, I would have liked to have had one villain to be, okay, this is the bad guy, this is the one you want to go against, and he's a prior computer hacker, and he hacked in and stole the way, instead of having the chip, or he had to break in to get the chip, or blackmailed Dion to get the chip, or something like that, just to make it, again, like you guys said, more intentional. And especially with how big it was. Oh man, I figured it out. I mean, it did make it look like, oh, he spent one night, and then, oh, guess what, I figured out artificial intelligence overnight, in one day. It, rather than kind of have it, I mean, I don't like using montages very much, but to me, they should have had it over and over and over again. Different montage, different thing of this, different thing of that, of actually what of him struggling and finding out and getting frustrated and getting mad, throwing things around, or something, that's different that we didn't see. To me, it was just, oh, and yeah, I can put it in this robot. It's only got 5-day battery life, but and then of all things, PS3s. Come on. I mean, I got a PS3 behind me. The thing's barely running. I'm sorry, that did not have the power to take a consciousness, even though you put 10 of them together. No. No. Okay, so at this point, we're going to give either a thumbs up or thumbs.
Oh yeah! Boo!
All right, so either you really like the movie, you didn't like the movie, or you're kind of on the fence with it. I don't know. So starting with Chad. Chad, are you going to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Oh, kind of a in between. Yeah. Okay, so it's a meh. Meh. Down.
Down with the count.
John, what's yours? Did you freeze up?
No, I didn't.
Oh, a thumbs
High
down.
entertainment value to me, but after rewatching it, man, I can't.
And for me, I am the same thing, guys. It's totally down.
Oh man, our
I mean,
first thumbs
I
down
saw it a
movie.
long time ago, but this time actually looking at it through this lens of what we're doing is actually looking at movies a little bit more in depth, and just seeing how they interact with our lives now here in 2024. And
Oh yeah,
I'm sorry, there was just again, I told you there's so many plot holes, so many things in just bad writing. I really think it was rushed, and they just like, oh, we just need to get this out, and not actually come up with a really good story, because that's the difference. Yeah, that's what I mean. We've noticed that throughout the time, through the different movies we've seen. If you write a good story, even if it's a B movie, if the story is well written, it's a good movie. If the story is not written well, no matter what actor you had, you could have, whoever, I can't think of any actors off the top of my head now.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, Tom Cruise. You can't. I mean, even if you had some of these really good actors, really big name actors, if the story is not good, the story is not good, and no matter how good they are. So, all right. So we're starting to close up here. So we'd like you guys to contact us. So All right, contact us. You can see I got a little ticker on the bottom. You can contact us on X. I don't like calling it X. I still call it Twitter or Twitter. All right, at these sci-fi guys. Right here on this YouTube channel that you guys are watching us on, we are at these sci-fi guys. You can email us, TheseSciFiGuys at gmail.com. So next up, I got a little treat for everybody. For our next up, we are actually going to watch. Chad picked out our next movie, and I should make a little thing of like a doom 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 doom, or something, that goes, hey, our next movie is Free Guy. Oh man, John, have you seen this movie yet?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Oh, it was a great movie. NPC, and then that basically another kind of AI that comes to life. We get a lot of these. It seems like
It's
AIs
a
that come to
sci-fi
life.
trope.
But
It's so easy.
kind of exactly sci-fi trope. And for those of you out there, we are actually going to be in a couple of weeks. So start looking forward to it. We're actually we got contacted from another group of sci-fi guys. And we're going to be doing it's not going to be live. Sorry, we don't do live. But we are going to get up with them, and we're going to be having basically a question and answer, maybe do some trivia. We're going to have all kinds of stuff. It's just kind of get to know them and them get to know us. They found us on YouTube and said, hey, they're kind of like us. And so we're going to see how that turns out. So, and then, yeah. Oh, last thing, I know we just asked you guys to like us, subscribe. And if there's a movie that you guys really want to see that's a science fiction movie, put it in the comments. We have a list basically that goes out to the end of the year, but we can switch it around. So we've already switched it around, I think, a couple times this year already. And we have no problem switching stuff around. We're already looking at stuff for next year. But yeah, if there's a movie you guys specifically want to see, please put it in the comments and let us know. Well, with that, do I have anything else? Let me see. Click right here. Click right here. No, that looks like it. All right. Peace out, everybody.